Short answer, yeah, I can make a sword. Do you think I can't make a sword? I can make a sword. That's actually why I never checked to see if I could, because I already knew that I could. But now that I'm actually trying to make one, I wanted to check and see if I could do it, just in case I couldn't. That's really what today is. I'm just checking to see if I can actually do what I know that I can. Probably just would have been better for me to give the long answer. It was a lot shorter. Anyways, it's been a while. Let me get you guys up to speed. My forge, epic for knife making, really not very good for sword making. So there was a few changes I needed to make. First of all, I was feeling kind of generous, so I went ahead and replaced the fire bricks in the forge. They were just so old and cold and so very full of mold. And very epic, I sealed the inside of it with refractory cement. Huge waste of time. Don't bother with that. Pop tamale, I'm sweating. All right, next we got this thing. Really simple. It's just a steel frame that holds 2 fire bricks at a slight angle from each other. So you use it as kind of a lid over the forge, and it redirects the heat back down to your workpiece. But that curve lets you slide long pieces of steel, very similar to a sword, all the way through, so you can heat any part of the steel. This setup is gonna be really good for forging, but it's not gonna be good for the heat treating because you can only heat small pieces of the steel at a time. I'm gonna have to come up with something better when it comes to actually heat treating the whole thing. Next, new blacksmithing tools, homemade, baby. We got spring swages galore. Well, 2 of them. Two spring swages galore. And this homemade hardy cutoff tool. I made this out of the non-spring steel part of the leaf spring from the truck. Very epic. Wish it worked. I wish both of the spring swages worked too. Hey, leave in the comments right now which spring swage will work and which one will not. The one for putting the shoulder on the blade or the one for putting the fuller on the blade? Who knows? So let's go to town on this bad boy. I'm starting with the small piece of steel. It is spring steel, so I can bring it through to completion if I want. But like I said, I'm just kind of testing out all the stuff that I haven't tried before. Namely, the process of forging a sword, which is a lot different than forging a knife. And the grinding is gonna be a lot different too, especially considering the fact that I've never done a full-sized fuller. We'll get to that in a minute though. So step number 1 is just some routine squishing. This piece of flat bar that I'm forging is about 2 inches wide. I wanna squish it down to maybe 1.5 inches, and then I also want it to taper down towards the end. So I start by smushing vertically, and then periodically I flip it onto its side and I hammer it flat, just so that everything is turning into a nice rectangular shape. Nice sharp angular edges and everything. You don't want the thing to get way too twisted up and crazy, and it's just way too hard to get it back to a shape that you actually want. So being an absolute beginner, one of the main things that I'm finding right now, the more you turn the piece from side to side and hammer a little in both dimensions every single time, as opposed to trying to go all the way in one side and then turning it over and going all the way on the other side, it's a lot easier to keep the material under control, keep it looking vaguely similar to what you want it to look like in the end. This is where I'm putting the profile taper on the blade. So it's about 1.5 inches here and a little over 1 inch here. Then, not gonna lie, I really wanted to try out the spring swages. So I went ahead, I tried the one for putting the shoulder on the thing. Turned out pretty good. It took a couple of heats, but this is, it's a lot better than I would have been able to do with the, with just the hammer and like the edge of the anvil. So I'm very, very happy with this. So then after that, I got to drawing out the tang. Turned out pretty good. The tip here gave me a lot of trouble, not gonna lie. This is when I discovered that the underside of the hardy hole on the anvil is actually bigger than the top end of it. So when I put the homemade cutoff tool on the top, because of the design of the tool, it was like wiggling side to side. So basically useless. I'm gonna have to modify it and stabilize it in all directions. And then we'll see what kind of work I can get done with it. But yeah, I kind of just ended up spending a whole bunch of time smashing the end of it on the corner of the anvil, trying to cut it off. And finally, I got it off, but it had this like Jimmy Neutron hair thing. And that was kind of a nightmare to try to fix. What I ended up doing to fix that was just kind of heating up the end of it and smashing it into the anvil just to kind of get a new start on it. And from there, I was able to forge it down to a point. Turned out all right. Then I've kind of forged bevels before, a little bit, like on a knife, never to this extent. So I was very happy to find it was kind of easy. I was able to get the full length of the blade along the whole edge of the anvil. And from there, you just kind of tilt it a little bit and you hammer at an angle. So the anvil actually flattens the bottom side and the hammer flattens the top side. So you end up with a decent bevel. After that though, epic fail, not gonna lie. The spring swage for putting the fuller in the blade, no go. When I was hammering it, it was kind of deforming and twisting the rods, and the result was that I would get a bit of a fuller in the middle here, but then on the other side, it was like totally off to the side. Just absolutely not an epic gamer moment. But it all turned out fine, because then I started experimenting with grinding, and boy oh boy. You know what? I'm gonna make a big mistake right now and try a new method of putting a fuller in. I saw this on Man at Arms. That means I can definitely do it. I'm gonna use the bad side. Yes, this does have a bad side. Why is that actually kind of working? The frick, bro? Why is this easy? Why is this the easiest thing I ever done? Hold on, let me do this bevel. I found out it's about 1 billion times easier to grind the fuller into the blade than to forge it. I still got some imperfections up here. It'll buff out. Very, very pleasantly surprised. I thought this would be an absolute nightmare to pull off, but I did it in like, I don't know, about 20 minutes. Then I ground the bevels in. Pretty similar to the stuff that I always do. So here we are. If there's something that I would do different, I don't know, maybe I would try my hand at forging in the distal taper. You'll definitely be seeing that in future videos. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I promise I won't stretch this out for, you know, 20 something videos. At the absolute most, this might be like a 4 or 5 part series in all seriousness. Hope you guys stick around. It's about all I got for today. By the way, anybody waiting on knife commissions, I'm not ghosting you. I haven't forgotten you. We just got a whole lot of stuff going on right now and I don't want to rush any of it, including and especially not your knife that you paid for. But as far as this video, it's all we got for today, guys. Thank you all very much for watching. I'll talk to you later. Bye.